Yeah. I'm not going to ask you again.
A complaint was filed just yesterday about deputies Jarrett Williams and Sam Quincy. A passenger in the car was filming the whole traffic stop with her cell phone until her device was confiscated.
Don't worry about it. You're going to
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. On September 7th, I posted a video that shows what appears to be two deputies conspiring in a hold my beer moment, which resulted in the seizure of a woman's phone.
Let me see that phone.
I'm sorry.
Let me see that.
You can't have this.
Her arrest.
Don't worry about it. You're going to jail too.
Why would I go to jail?
Threats to take her children. And finally, her eventual release. After posting that video, viewers went to the Levy County Sheriff's Office to redress their government. And as a result of over 1,000 comments, the agency posted to their website that a video post leads to internal investigation. It reads, late yesterday afternoon, a professionally edited video of an LCSO traffic stop was posted to the internet. We believe that it was a part of a coordinated attack against our agency and law enforcement in general. Unfortunately, it has caused significant negative reaction consisting of phone calls, emails, and social media postings. Some of these have been threatening towards LCSO personnel and family members. Prior to yesterday, LCSO has not received any complaints regarding this incident. Immediately upon being made aware of the potential misconduct by LCSO deputies, Sheriff McCallum ordered both a criminal and internal review. The two deputies who were involved have been suspended. They will remain suspended until further resolution of the issues involved. We regret the negative attention that this incident has brought on our staff and our county. Any necessary corrective action will be taken once the incident is fully investigated. Thank you for your understanding in this matter. I'm pleased to hear that they think my editing is professional, but calls incident is a head scratcher. For one, it took months to get this video from the sheriff's office, and their personnel are the ones who took the video, compiled it, and released it. And if they think that something was edited out of the video that could have given better context, I'll remind you that they own the video and can release it at any time.
Levy County Sheriff's deputies are suspended with pay for helping handle a traffic stop in February.
A video circulated on social media shows parts of the traffic stop and is resulting in backlash towards the sheriff's office.
Let me say that I am sheriff and the men and women of this agency do not condone any violation of policy or standards of this agency. I am very proud of the men and women of this agency and their service to our citizens.
By far the longest supporter of my work has been Exeter with their had been coordinating their legal attack, and on September 14th of 2023, they filed a lawsuit in the Northern District of Florida against the sheriff, Bobby McCallum, and multiple deputies, including the two that were unseen and featured in that video. The lawsuit references the actions portrayed in the video I published. It claims that Michelle refused to surrender her phone initially because she had no legal obligation to surrender her phone, and that she had a constitutionally protected civil right to record Williams, Quincy, or any other police conduct that occurred in public. That upon refusing to surrender the phone, Williams physically began to arrest her and dragged her violently out of the vehicle while he physically seized the phone. And upon commencement of her arrest, although she had no obligation to, Michelle offered to surrender the phone to Williams out of pure fear, but that at that point, he refused to discontinue the arrest. Williams attempted to access its video. They kept Michelle handcuffed on the highway for several minutes while they mocked her and while her children screamed as they debated with Michelle the justification for her husband's arrest.
You guys wanted me to
No, I wasn't going to
listen, let's not go back. It's not that time. Okay? When I went up there to tell you guys what, oh, you didn't got it? It's swerve. Listen, do you not know what constitutes a swerve?
I am very proud of men and women of this agency and their service to our citizens.
Their all times would be considered to be unprofessional.
You said you can't tell me what to do.
No, back in the car. Don't do that.
Okay,
You said you can't tell me what to do.
I'm keeping it on record.
You said you can't tell me what to do. Is that recording? You can't tell me what to do.
And here's one of the reasons I love this lawyer. The lawsuit continues. Why police officers would arrest someone for refusing to hand over their phone, but then spend several minutes debating the merits of the arrest of John is perplexing. However, during this improper banter, Williams tells Michelle that it was her mouth that got her into this trouble.
I'm not saying he's swerving all across the country. No.
Because that's all I'm saying.
Here you go again.
Okay.
You want an explanation? He's trying to give you an explanation.
I'm saying that
Your mouth is supposed to got those handcuffs right now. Okay? You still haven't figured that out.
Your turn.
You want to be? What do you want to be? You want to tell me how to do my job?
no, sir.
I am very proud of men and women of this agency and their service to our citizens.
And then argued that when Michelle refused to hand over her own phone, that her actions constituted resisting arrest.
You need to learn the definition of resisting, because resisting is pulling away from us when he asks you to hand him the phone.
Okay.
That's resisting. When you don't do that.
But such is a nonsensical argument, legally and factually. Eventually, the officers realized that the video recordings of this incident would not reflect favorably on their conduct if made public.
Now listen, you gotta take that in mind, okay? Remember when you want to be a dick to us, they come back. We'll swing.
And accordingly, the deputies decided to release Michelle and let her go, but only after making implicit threats that if she posted any of the videos she took to social media, that she would be subject to retribution, with bad things happening to her, and her children subject to seizure by the Florida Department of Children and Families.
Just remember before you try to go to social media and talk crap about what happened or what could have happened to me. Because technically, if I hauled you to jail, you know what gonna think you DCF.
In the end, they had the audacity to suggest that it was her lucky day that she was being released.
It's your lucky day. Look, and I'm wondering where you guys are on Facebook. You know, after that, it is what it is.
It continues to account the situation where Williams further told Michelle that he didn't like how she was looking at him after being abused for approximately 10 minutes, and that if she wanted to be a smartass, he could hook her up again, meaning place her back in handcuffs and rearrest her.
You look at me like that, I mean, like, you don't be smarter, and I can hook you up and say, hell, what?
Which is when Deputy Quincy reminded her that when an officer tells her to do something, like hand over her phone, she has to do it, or she's guilty of resisting arrest.
Because the definition of resistance, anytime that we request something,
I am very proud of men and women of this agency and their service to our citizens.
And as the lawsuit states, this is an incorrect statement of fact or law, which is only one of the reasons why this 1983 suit was filed, alleging the unreasonable seizure and arrest of Michelle, causing her personal injury, mental pain and suffering in violation of 1st, 4th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution, and similar findings for Deputy Quincy. But you may have noticed I began reading the lawsuit at line 31. That's because this lawsuit is for 2 incidents. There is no footage that I am aware of Incident 1, but the lawsuit claims that on or before July 20th, 2022, Michelle and John had kids together but did not live together, and that each resided in separate homes next to each other. It then alleges that John was generally disliked by LCSO because of various police interactions, including, ironically, a prior interaction between Reeve and the Chiefland Police in Levy County, where John was falsely arrested and prosecuted for drug-related crimes in an incident that itself was a violation of 1983. That case was also dismissed just after I posted this last video, but on that day in July, several deputies went to Michelle's house, claiming that someone called 911 to tell them that Michelle had been kidnapped and was held hostage in her home by John. But when they got there, John and Michelle were nowhere to be found. One of Michelle's neighbors saw the deputies at her home and called John to advise him that LCSO officers were swarming outside Michelle's house. Michelle and John then called LCSO and said, "Hey, What's going on? Get those deputies off my property. They don't have permission to be there and should leave. Instead, and to no one's surprise, the deputies fabricated a false narrative to justify a warrantless entry of the home on the property, claiming that despite the house being completely vacant, the deputies amazingly heard two separate distinct sets of human footprints inside the locked, secured home, and that they saw lights being turned on and off. They then forced entry into the home by prying the back door open with a knife, but while other officers stood guard at the front door. An odd choice if the officers cleared the outside and were confident that there was an active crime underway inside. Once they had entry, the officers found no persons whatsoever, and though they found the house vacant, and that their claim was they were there to rescue a kidnapped person, they searched the entirety of the house by opening, destroying, and dismantling numerous aspects and areas of the home, breaking into walls and small spaces where any intelligent person, especially a trained police officer, would know that a person could not be hidden, and the officers did all of this without a search warrant. They never sought one because the evidence of the search after the fact clearly establishes that the purpose of the entry and search was not to rescue or find anyone, but to conduct a comprehensive and destructive illegal search of the entire property for any possible basis to charge John or Michelle with a crime, or just to cause them pain and suffering. And after all of this, Michelle contacted Deputy Nerian to make a formal complaint and advise him that she intended to sue him and the other officers and the sheriff's office. The lawsuit alleges that in response, rather than directing her how to file a complaint, Nerian told her that if she filed a complaint or lawsuit, that he would get a warrant and come back to her house and search it again, despite there being absolutely no basis for a warrant or subsequent search, and rather that it was a pure intimidation attempt by Nerian to protect himself and the other officers who acted improperly. So with all of that in mind, if the facts alleged in this lawsuit are true, who are the ones doing coordinated attacks? I'd love to know your thoughts on this situation and the sheriff's response.
I am very proud of men and women of this agency and their service to our citizens.
So, let me know what you think in the comment section down below.
Is that recording? You can't go It's recorded. It's recorded. Everything that we're doing is under recording.
How many sitting judges do you know that have committed a drive-by shooting and then an hour and a half later when the police ask them about it, they say, well, I don't really remember doing that.
He reportedly told officers he did not know why he would have shot his gun and could not recall any part of the shooting incident.
Probably none until today. Let me introduce you to Judge Brian Lovell.
Judge Lovell's office.
Hey, this is Jim. Is Judge Lovell in today?
No, he isn't.
Yeah, is he on vacation right now?
Well, who is this?
It's Jim Johnson. I've been trying to get a hold of him all week. I tried his cell phone.
Are you like a friend of his?
Well, I was, but it kind of looks like he's been doing GTA side missions without me, so I don't really know where we stand right now.
Yeah, he's on leave right now.
Paid vacation type thing or something? They only give us like 2 weeks of paid vacation here. How much do judges in Oklahoma get?
I don't know. Why does it matter?
I'm just curious. Is it like 2 weeks per year, or is it like one per rampage, or?
Oh, it's a guy with a gun!
Rampage.
Hey, where you learn that from? Grand Theft Auto 3?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's James Freeman, and no, this isn't clickbait or satire. This sitting judge actually just committed a drive-by shooting. And yes, an hour and a half later, when police asked him about it, he said he didn't remember. But the story doesn't even end there. The police ended up catching up with him an hour and a half after the shooting because he had rear-ended a vehicle multiple times, intentionally, then pushing the other vehicle into an intersection on a red light. Yes, 58-year-old Judge Brian Lovell is now facing charges of reckless driving and reckless discharge of a firearm, But don't worry, while the American justice system treats most suspects as guilty until proven innocent, Judge Brian Lovell will be treated as innocent until everybody forgets about this so they can offer him a sweet plea deal and sweep this under the rug. So according to the arrest affidavit, there is video evidence of the incident, but it hasn't been released yet. The affidavit says that on Monday, September 11th, 2023, at approximately 4:09 p.m., the Austin, Texas Police Department received a shots fired call at the intersection of Matamoros, at the intersection of Matamoros Street and Santa Maria Street. A citizen reported a white male driving a white SUV had discharged a firearm approximately 5 times while driving down the street. According to the affidavit, the drive-by judge managed to hit 5 parked vehicles with the 5 shots. Police said that they did recover at least 1 bullet from one of the cars and 3 shell casings from the scene. The affidavit also claims that there's video footage from nearby surveillance cameras of the drive-by shooting. Again, that video hasn't been released yet. So then almost an hour and a half later, approximately 5:27 p.m., officers are still investigating the shots fired call. The department receives another phone call, this time about a crash, an urgent response for a crash at the intersection of East 7th Street and Interstate 35. One of the vehicles involved in the crash is a white SUV, a Toyota Highlander. Turns out that the vehicle involved in the crash is the same vehicle that was involved in the earlier drive-by shooting. And apparently there's video evidence of the crash as well from both dash cameras and surveillance cameras. Police said that, quote, based on video evidence of the collision, an independent witness, and the victim of the collision, it's believed that Judge Lovell intentionally struck the other vehicle involved in the collision and engaged in a verbal argument with the other driver. The victim claims that Judge Lovell rear-ended her once while they were driving, and then again after she came to a stop at the intersection, this time rear-ending her, keeping his foot on the gas and pushing her car into the intersection on the red light. Police said that 2 handguns were found in the SUV, a .40 caliber Glock, and a .380. So after being Mirandized, he agreed to talk to one of the officers, but he told the officer he remembers the crash, but he just doesn't seem to remember shooting up the neighborhood that he drove through earlier. I can tell you that I personally have fired a .40 caliber handgun in a very confined space before, and it is not something that you quickly forget, because your ears will be ringing for hours. So we all know how this works. Somebody commits a horrible crime, then all of his friends and family members tell us about how he was such a good boy that never hurt anybody. Well, the family won't speak to any reporters. But they found a defense attorney, Stephen Jones, who appeared to be trying to score some brownie points with the judge and agreed to talk to the media, and told them that Judge Lovell is a respected judge. He said, quote, he is always congenial, reasonable, he is not a stuffed shirt. And another colleague decided to step up and say he's a good boy that never harmed anybody. Paul Woodard, a presiding administrative judge at Garfield County, Oklahoma, which is where the judge actually presides at up in Oklahoma, told the Oklahoman that Lovell has, quote, been a good friend and colleague for years. It's hard for me to believe any of this. So here's a question that I want to pose to you guys. Do you think that it's possible for a normal, good, decent, patient man with no criminal history to just snap one day, shoot up a neighborhood, and then use his car to smash into somebody and push their car into an intersection? Or do you think that maybe there had to be some underlying psychopathic tendencies there all along? So for anyone who's ever known any judge, you know that that's a pretty damn high possibility, because cops are definitely psychopaths, but judges are far, far sicker. What if he's always been a psychopath who likes to exert arbitrary control over other people, but he's been able to hide it for decades because he used the courtroom in the guise of operating under the law to calmly and sadistically get his fix of controlling and hurting other people? Just kidding. At any rate, Judge Lovell will not be presiding over any cases until his own criminal matters are settled. But as of now, he's still receiving his full salary and benefits while he's on paid vacation as a result of his rampage. That's right, guys. Paid vacations aren't just for dirty cops. Dirty judges can have them too.
Judge Lovell's office.
Hey, this is Jim. Is Judge Lovell in today?
No, he isn't.
Okay.
Can I take a message?
Yeah, is he on vacation right now?
Well, he was
It's Jim Johnson. I've been trying to get a hold of him all week. I tried his cell phone. I think he might be on vacation. I don't.
Yeah.
He's out on vacation for the week or what?
Are you like a friend of his?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you give me your number, I can send him a text.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was going to be taking a vacation soon anyway, so I figured he may just be on vacation out of the country. I mean, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, he's okay, everything, right? I mean, he normally gets back to me.
Well, he's on leave right now, so he's not going to be here right now for a while, so.
Okay. All right. Paid vacation type thing or something?
I really don't know.
All right.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I work over here in Texas next door, and they only give us like 2 weeks of paid vacation a year. How much do judges in Oklahoma get?
I don't know. Why does it matter?
Oh, I'm just curious. Is it like 2 weeks per year, or is it like one per ream page, or?
Who knows? I don't think you're a friend of his. I don't. You're trying to fish for information, and I don't have any.
I love James. He's hilarious. Hey, Chopper. Oh, fucking hey. I'm tired, man. It's alright. A lot of running around for no reason, really. But it is what it is. Resetting the switches was no problem, but now I'm having issues with the fact that there's no access points on the other side of the building.
This decision is based on his well-founded confidence that this honorable court intends to fully and completely protect his constitutional right to
Yeah, we're gonna stop. Shit's her right in front of me.
guarantee in due process of law.
We're gonna stop at a place right in the village we live in that has outdoor seating. We're gonna bring the pupper with us.
Respectfully submit.
That's her right in front of me.
That's it. That's the whole thing. Making sure the court is aware of it, copying all the parties, and that's it. So we're thinking, well, that's curious. I wonder what the heck is going on this one. And so we've got a couple things that I jotted down that might be possible. One, obviously, Donald Trump probably does not want to testify at the removal hearing. So when Mark Meadows was trying to remove his case, he needed to testify so that he could talk about his role, and so that his role would articulate that he was operating within the confines of a federal officer, a federal official, and the federal official operation justified the removal, right? So it's kind of, he's got to explain to the court why it needs to be removed. Trump definitely does not want to testify right now. If he testifies right now, it's kind of fair game for a lot of stuff. And he may not want to testify at all, as he sees right. But in order to have I would say, a higher chance of success at federal removal, he would need to testify. Mark Meadows did it. Mark Meadows didn't win. Trump is a different category. Okay, he is actually the president. And so I think kind of a lot of the things that he does are totally within the confines of that role. But for whatever reason, he's not going to make the decision to do that. So one reason might be he doesn't want to testify. Number two, judges, right? Now, I've read that the federal court judge who's assigned to this case is an Obama-appointed judge. Obviously, more experienced, been around for a lot longer. In Georgia, we've got a new judge, Judge McAfee, right? Young, 34, 35 years old, right? Fresh on the bench. And there's also some talk that maybe he is actually a little bit more conservative. Like maybe he's got connections with the Federalist Society or something like that. But now, if you think the Federalist Society is favorable to Trump, or like let's say wants Trump to win again, I have a different opinion on that. But generally speaking, right, maybe it's a choice of judge. They like the state judge better for tactical reasons. Maybe they think the judge is, less experienced and they can take advantage of that. Maybe they think the judge is more politically favorable and that's beneficial to them, or whatever reason. Maybe they just want to avoid the federal court judge because it was Obama appointed. Could be a possibility. Another possibility that we talked about this morning on our members-only morning stream is about the appellate path. And if Trump loses anything, first of all, what is he losing? What would the downside be? What is he trying to fight and then lose? What is the issue at stake? Does the issue that they're fighting over, does it originate from state law versus does it originate from federal law? And so if they're at the state level, they might say that the current laws here are more favorable to us, so that if we lose in Georgia, we'll appeal to the Georgia Court of Appeals and then to the Georgia State Supreme Court and then maybe to the the United States Supreme Court. So work their way up from within the state to the Supreme Court rather than take themselves out of the state and go through the federal courts. And one reason they might want to do that is because in federal courts, in my opinion, things are a little bit more professional, right? Things are a little bit more dialed in. Stakes are generally a little bit higher. The level is just a little bit more, it's like, from going from college to the pros a little bit, right? Although it's not quite that dramatic, it's like maybe from regular season to the playoffs or something like that is a better analogy. But the point is, it's a little bit higher games, the stakes are a little higher and it's a little bit more wild. So if that is the case, the federal judge may be somebody who is
Mercedes van.
Some of the problems, identifying them and correcting them as the case is progressing. Whereas if you're at the state level court, it's kind of a circus down there. You just kind of let the whole thing go. And we know it's kind of a circus because their justice system is pretty broken, right? People are dropping dead in Big Fanny's jail. It's kind of a mess there. Right? The whole county is kind of a problem. So they might want to operate in that space because it's a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more unknowns that might pop up, and you can exploit those unknowns. Greater propensity for mistakes, greater propensity for chaos, and that's exactly how Trump likes to operate. And lastly, one final reason, TV, maybe they want TV. And somebody brought this up on Locals this morning, shout out, who said maybe Trump just wants a spectacle. In federal court, he does not get to have TV as it stands. So his Florida case not going to be on TV. Presumably, his January 6th case not going to be on TV. I'll be surprised if his New York case even goes if they get convictions on the other federal cases. And so maybe he wants to go. Let's do it. You want to talk about fraud in Georgia? You want to talk about broken water mains that are popping off in the middle of 2 a.m. conveniently on election night? That's weird. Why did a water main break right as we're counting votes? Strange. What a coincidence. So maybe he wants to bring in these conversations and talk about it and present it to the American people and get the full exposure of the truth. So it could be any one of those things, could be reasons we haven't thought about, but the point is Trump is not going to be removing his case. So we're going to be sticking around in Big Fanny's court for some time, and we're probably going to see this trial on TV. Hey-yo, which is good news. I think that they were thinking this would be bad for Trump. Let's see it. Let's see Big Fanny out there. If she even does this, okay? If she even prosecutes this case, she'll probably have somebody else do it. We'll see. We'll see if she's in trial for Sidney Powell or Kenneth Chesebro. I tend to doubt it. But in other jurisdictions, Donald Trump is asking for more time because there are tens of millions of pages. Is that right? I don't know if that's that accurate, but it's 10 Washington monuments. That I know is accurate. Multiple Washington monuments full of documents that they are supposed to read. And Trump is saying, we need more time to process everything, and we need more time. Judge Chepkin, who's failed to recuse herself out of the District of Columbia, they say, we need more time. We need an extension. This is from Trump's people, to file pre-trial motions. Now, if I could predict the future, I'm going to guess the judge is going to say no. Why? Because it's Judge Chepkin. They're asking for 60 days. Let's see. Although this is just a pre-trial motions deadline, so she might bump this back a little bit. Let's see what their argument is. They say here, we've got a current motions deadline coming up, like October 9th. Can we please postpone that 60 days from now to December 8th? And it's just a pre-trial motions deadline, Judge, so it's like not trial, not anything major. We just need more time to investigate. Here's why. As you know, this case presents numerous novel and complex legal issues. I'm not even sure the judge would agree with that, though. Counsel has been diligently researching these questions and preparing the appropriate pretrial motions, since we've never indicted a former president, current presidential candidate before, and tried to gag him, and then just cram the trial down America's gullet in a matter of months. But this requires a brief extension of time, Judge, just to complete the process. For the reasons below, Trump seeks the requested extension to ensure that he can raise all the relevant legal issues consistent with his Fifth Amendment right to a fair trial and to present a full defense. The prosecution has already advised that Jack Smith objects. He opposes our requests. Typically, Trump's defense says, Your Honor, this case is the first of its kind, and it concerns many legal questions of first impression. This is the first time in history anyone, let alone a president of the United States, has been charged, in the defense's view, wrongly, with conspiracies related to a contested election. Never happened. It is also the first time that a president has been charged for conduct committed while in office, and the first time that a leading presidential candidate has been charged in the middle of a campaign by his opponent's administration. All true. Factual. As a result, defense counsel must research and address issues of extreme constitutional import that require careful analysis and briefing. And despite due diligence, counsel requests additional time to address these complex and novel legal questions and to ensure that they are properly placed before the court. Because, Judge, you want everybody to have a fair trial, don't you? We have due process in this country, don't we? You don't want to stop his attorney from being an effective assistant of counsel. This additional time, therefore, will conserve judicial resources by providing defense counsel the necessary time to assist the court in fully understanding these novel issues. Judge, we're going to help you. If you allow us to brief this now, then when it comes time for argument, we'll be able to present it much more competently. You know, it's like when you're painting. Painting can be a big pain in the butt if you don't prep right. If you prep the room and you do it well, painting's pretty quick and easy. But it's in the prep time, Judge. So we got to prep this whole thing out. Then when it's time to do the painting, we're all just going to grab a couple of rollers, boom, and paint the whole thing up. But let us take the room off. We need 60 days to do it. It will allow counsel the necessary time to ensure that all questions are fully researched, fully examined, and fully briefed. They say, Your Honor, at the outset of this case, the court requested that the parties propose a trial date estimating the time required for trial. And we submitted extensive briefing on the respective trial date proposals. At the hearing, though, the court and the parties focused on their respective views about when trial was appropriate. And at the conclusion of the hearing, Judge Yu announced that your decision was to set trial for March 4th, 2024. Immediately, basically. But Judge Yu did not hear argument about other deadlines. Instead, the court indicated that they would just issue an order and schedule a bunch of the other stuff, pre-trial matters, motions, deadlines, status hearings, whatever. So the judge basically said, we'll backfill the dates. I want trial on March 4th. Why? Because March 5th is Super Tuesday, the day before all of the primaries in this entire country. So as people are going to go in to vote on March 5th, Trump's trial for January 6th will have started on March 4th. If you don't think that's a coincidence, I mean, amazing. And she did it, right? And then she said, once that date is anchored in there, so I can cause maximum damage to the Republican Party, we'll just backfill the dates and just schedule them whenever because it doesn't even matter. What do I care about motions? The court advised, however, that its initial deadlines would not be set in stone, but if the parties had conflicts, we could alter them. They say, Your Honor, that's pretty sensible. It's going to allow the parties the opportunity to assess their potential motions, including how much research and drafting time it would take to prepare all the stuff. And they say, Your Honor, good news. We have had time to do this analysis. And Trump's defense now advises that it requires an extension. And we have to finalize several of our expected motions, including motions to dismiss this case related to executive immunity. And I know some of these cases have felt like they're a little bit slow, right? Where are these motions at? Where are the motions to dismiss and all? They're coming, right? They're all coming. Failure to state a claim, improper conduct by special counsel during a grand jury process in charging decisions. Subpoenas are going out. Motions to compel discovery, etc. Right? That etc. is a monster list, right? So they're gearing up for it. But all of this is just foundational stuff that's working out. And every time they ask for an extension, right? I love that they're doing this, just to zoom out for a minute, because the judge is going to deny it or deny to some extent some of these motions. I don't think she's going to come back and say 60 days, 60 days, 60 days. She'll come back, okay, how about 2 weeks? How about 30 days? And every time they do that, Trump is basically anchoring in that you are causing us to be ineffective, literally. There's no way we can retend Washington monuments and documents. There's no way we can prepare all these pretrial motions. How can we prepare a motion to dismiss the case if we don't know what the evidence is upon which to base our motion? So they're forcing the judge to deny them due process, essentially. So each of these motions will be extensive, no doubt about it. You better believe it. And although counsel has been working diligently to meet the existing motion deadline that you said,
please be patient, new driver. Well, you still got to follow the fucking rules. It is now clear
that President Trump will require this requested extension to fully address the complex questions raised by the unique legal issues in this case. Additionally, Trump believes that his pretrial motions will be more efficiently and appropriately considered sequentially and on a rolling basis. And all motions have thus far been considered, as they all have, rather than a single burst before an arbitrary motion deadline. So let us submit one, we'll have a reply and a response, and we'll do it again. But we don't need to batch them all together and drop like 5 motions on one day. In this regard, Trump anticipates filing certain motions in advance of this and not waiting until the last day. So this extension would provide additional time that would benefit everybody. In other words, by postponing this, giving us 60 days, you're not actually going to have to wait 60 days. We're going to start dropping these things, but just sequentially. So you can start reviewing. Court, you can do your due diligence, and so can the prosecutor. Finally, Trump's defense has begun the process of reviewing vast amounts of discovery in this case, which is now, 13 million pages of documents. 13 million. And I don't know how many Washington monuments that is. Okay, they helped us with the math last time, but it's more than last time. It might be 12, 15 Washington monuments. I don't know how many million per monument. Somebody could have to do the conversion because I can't math. While operating under an unprecedented trial setting mere months from the time of the indictment. 13 million pages. How is that due process? The government had time to read all of those. That's why they put them in their discovery files. Why doesn't the defense have the same amount of time? This is a time-consuming task requiring considerable attention, Judge. Check in. Which diverts substantial resources from motion practice because we have to sit there and read War and Peace 25 times a week. Defense counsel needs the time necessary to review this discovery and assess the potential import about the various motions we intend to file. We're unlikely to have even made a small dent in this review by the currently scheduled pretrial motions deadline. Maybe they'll get, I don't know, how many hundreds of thousands of pages can they get done by October 9th? Not many. An additional 60 days will enable defense counsel to review larger segments of the provided discovery, request additional discovery from the prosecution because Jack Smith is going to deliver a wheelbarrow or he's going to dump it on their desk. And they're going to say, okay, we're going to go through it, but we're going to need 5 more wheelbarrows because your documents reference that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy, and you conveniently left all that crap out. Thanks, Jack. But go get it. These tasks, and we also have to address matters relating to confidential and classified documents. These go to the heart of Trump's constitutional rights, which nobody cares about, except here, to due process and effective assistance of counsel. We can't do our job if we can't do our job. The reasonable adjournment here would be consistent with a fair and just trial for President Trump. Objectives that the court says it believes in, while not prejudicing the prosecution in any way. And they give us some arguments, right? They say here, Jack Smith would not be harmed at all. It would not affect any other deadlines. The case would still be on trial. I'm not asking for a removal of the trial date, but that's going to come. The prosecutor, not yet, of course, because they haven't been harmed enough. All they're asking for is just a couple deadlines extensions. And then when they have, 11 million pages of outstanding discovery, then they're going to have the continuance of the trial motion will be coming. The prosecution would have equal time to file pre-trial motions, so they'll get 60 days too, including those that are going to be complex, right? So presidential immunity issues and other things. The extension would also allow these motions to be filed sequentially rather than at once. And if this extension is granted, it's ordinary order. It's not abnormal. Everybody can still file their motions. This is far from the typical case, okay? Trump is not asking for the entire pretrial period. He just wants a brief extension. And here, they say this is not causing the government prejudice at all. The court should strike a proper balance. They notify the judge. The government opposes the motion. Jack Smith and Molly Gaston over there say, sorry, Judge, this is an egregious violation. We have a speedy trial. The public has a right. Any response under a standard briefing schedule would be due after the current pretrial motion deadline. And so they say, Judge, we've got deadlines coming up. Please set a briefing schedule to hash out this issue. In conclusion, President Trump respectfully requests that the court grant the requested extension and give us until December 8th to file our pretrial motions 60 days out from October 9th. Signed here by John Lauro and Todd Blanche, 2 Trump lawyers representing the president. And so this is just one half of the equation. You can see that they are going to be asking for a lot more time. Now the total number of documents is up to 13 million, which is just insane. And you can do the math on that. They did that in prior motions. It's like reading, I think, War and Peace dozens of times a day per lawyers. We did the math. It was crazy. But it's only one half of this thing because there was another filing from Trump's defense as well. This one is saying we need more time also as a result of classified documents being involved in this case. So it's a similar extension request. And the reason I pause on these, I know these are not like juicy headline motions, like motions to dismiss or motions to preclude or whatever. This is timing and technical motions. But this is going to be where a lot of this, I think, is made, like where the egregious violations are made. Trump not having enough time, his counsel not being able to defend him, all of those are due process violations. And the judge is going to really be driving this bus hard to get us to trial on March 4th. They do not want that date to move. And it's basically, in my opinion, it's impossible for Trump's defense to provide him an adequate defense by that date. It's impossible. But 13 million documents, you can just do the math on it. You need 100 lawyers to read all the documents 24 hours a day for months, right? You just can't do it. So every time they file one of these, it's just like a little speed bump in the process. And that, you get enough speed bumps on the road, and they really can deviate the whole experience for the government. And it provides every one of those speed bumps, is really a basis for appeal. Every time the judge denies Trump of the ability to actually read the evidence, he has a new argument. So here, 10 pages. This one is now involved in the classified documents. They say, Judge, again, we're seeking a fair opportunity. We just want a fair shake at this. We want reasonable adversary proceedings that can happen here. They say, as you know, CIPA authorizes the court to provide protective orders, allowing prosecutors to delete otherwise discoverable classified materials. So if Trump wants something that is in this batch, they can say, oh, it's classified, I delete it. You don't get access to that because it's deleted.
What?
As of today, Jack Smith's office has not disclosed to Trump or defense counsel the type of relief it is seeking or the types of documents that are at issue here. So we want to know what they've got, basically. The standard here says that Trump cannot fully develop his defenses until after we've had an opportunity to review the discovery. For the first time yesterday, Trump's defense says, cleared counsel for Trump, very first time, was permitted to review classified discovery that was provided by Jack Smith in this case. Just got it. And it is now at the end of September, and they are racing to trial in March. Our review was brief and preliminary. We got to see some of it. But it's clear that President Trump is entitled to additional materials that are possessed by the U.S. intelligence community and other executive branch actors. They want to delete this stuff because they don't want us to see it. He says, we're going to request from that office, and if necessary, we're going to go get it. We're going to provide motions to compel and other procedures to go get what they have. They want to delete it from their batch, but we're going to go get it anyways. However, the court information security officer has informed us that restrictions on one of the central documents in the office's classified production currently preclude us from writing to the court or the office about the document's substance in connection with these applications. We do not know when these limitations will be addressed. So, they say, Judge, we have identified a piece of paper, a document that we want badly. They say that they're going to delete it from evidence so that we don't get access to it. That's fine if they're entitled to do that. We're going to go through other places to get it. Intelligence community and other executive branches. But we can't even bring this up with you, okay? We can't even talk about this document that we're going to talk to you about, we want to talk to you about, because there are restrictions on talking about the document. So we can't even tell you about we can't mention or talk about the document in our request to you. So I'm letting you know. It also appears that other classified material exists for several witnesses, including but not limited to classified emails that witnesses in this case exchanged around the time of the events in question, January 6th. Jack Smith's office did not include those classified materials in its first production of classified discovery. In other words, Trump's defense has identified classified information that is probably pretty damning to Jack Smith. Jack Smith is not including those. And they're saying, Judge, classified witness-related materials will likely require litigation. We're going to fight over this. In other words, they're not giving us the stuff that we're asking for. We know it's there. We're going to go get it somewhere else. They're not disclosing it. And we can't tell you what's in it because the rules say we can't talk about classified documents. So therefore, Trump objects to ex parte proceedings. So the government has been sending little love letters over to Judge Chutkan and saying, this is why we need protective orders. Trump can't get access to this stuff. Trump can't talk about this stuff. Nobody can see it. Protect this case under CIPA. But Trump is saying, no, you can't do that. No secret love letters, nothing ex parte, nothing happening without the other side. You got to go through everybody. They say, yeah, the law says that there is discretion by the court to authorize some aspects of various motions to be filed ex parte, which means the government is sending the motion only to the judge and not copying Trump on it, which you're supposed to do. General motion practice, when you file, you notify the other side. That's why when we talk about other motions, we say the other side objects to it, or the other side takes no position on it, or the other side is in agreement with it. And then the judge doesn't have to think about it, right? Oh, they agree? Perfect. I also agree. Granted. But here they're just bypassing Trump. They don't want Trump to see what's in it. So Trump says, I object to this ex parte proceeding. No love sessions between the judge and the DOJ. It is not a foregone conclusion that ex parte proceedings are appropriate. We can't have that. But the special counsel say that they object to our request to brief this subject. So they're just saying, Judge, you can have the ability to schedule ex parte proceedings. We know you can, but we're telling you why you shouldn't in this case. Can we please submit a brief on this? That's it. Can we please provide a brief to explain why we don't think you should do it that way? The government opposes. So they say Trump objects to unjustified and unnecessary sealing. Why is everything ex parte? Why is everything sealed? If they want Trump to be prosecuted openly and in public, if he really insurrected America, shouldn't we all see it? So Trump's defense says, Your Honor, to facilitate the appropriate adversarial process and to respect the public's right of access to these proceedings, this court should order Jack Smith to file publicly a redacted version of his SEPA submission. What is he trying to protect? What is he trying to keep us from getting? Why is he going to you ex parte? Put it on the docket so we can all see it. And to order Jack Smith to write a memorandum of law with argument and authorities about the basis for the redactions, so that President Trump can address those contentions in his other submissions. If they're going to be sending these secret love letters to the judge, post them and make him justify why it needs to be redacted. Now, of course, Jack Smith objects to this request because he would rather have these secret conversations with the judge, and they don't want the public seeing any of this. Although we recognize that some aspects of SEPA do likely contain classified information, no doubt, I'm sure it does, there's no basis for the special counsel to file its entire thing ex parte. Just file a part of it. You can file it on the docket, but let's leave the redactions in, rather than just not even allowing Trump to see any of it at all. They give us a bunch of rules here, and they say here, it's strange credulity for Jack Smith. We don't believe him to suggest that it's unclassified arguments, right? Things that are unclassified portions of the whole document. Other things like citations to legal authority or any proposed orders that you're going to be ordering on us. Why does that have to be hidden from Trump and the public? It's strange credulity. In addition to Trump's due process rights, open access principles under the First Amendment and a common law require a very different course for a SEPA filing that is obviously a very important judicial record. Special counsel should be required to file a public version of this motion and justify any redactions so that Trump and the public have an opportunity to respond. What's so hard about that? Why can't we just see what they're doing? They keep telling us that it's all America needs to know, right? I think even Adam Schiff's like, we need to have cameras in the courtrooms. Fine, we're fine with that. How about you unclassify, unseal, and stop your ex parte secret messages? They say President Trump is going to seek a hearing on this submission. So when Jack Smith submits his secret love letter, they say to the extent the court authorizes Jack Smith to send this in secret, in whole or part, Trump is now respectfully requesting an opportunity for an ex parte proceeding to discuss our theories, which is great. Judge, if you're going to grant them secret meetings, we want our secret meeting. The special counsel's office does not object to such a hearing, but it contends it has to take place in the next 2 weeks because they want to go fast. But that timeline is not appropriate, Judge, and we request the court refrain from setting this deadline until after Trump's objections, after they've already been addressed. Why is this not appropriate in the next 2 weeks? A couple reasons, Your Honor. One,
All right, y'all. We're going to eat some dinner.
Defense team
See you
have not
later.
even obtained clearances yet, and they're unable to even look at the classified discovery. And you've also created